Now, a WYFF News 4 Sports special.
And it's really hard to get to a Final Four.
The South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball team.
We got a core group of players who just want to win.
Heading to the Final Four.
Win, lose, or draw, it won't be from not trying as hard as they can.
Now, road to the title.
Every moment since last season ended has been about getting back to this stage for South Carolina. Good evening from the Target Center, where 24 hours from now, the Final Four begins for the Gamecocks. That's Julia Morris. I'm Mark Whiteman, and this is Road to the Title.
For the biggest brands in women's college basketball here in Minneapolis this weekend, just 2 wins shy of a national championship. And for South Carolina, Mark, it has been a dominant run to get to this point. The Gamecocks have bullied their way through the majority of this season with strength and size and skill.
Yeah, and from the preseason to this point, South Carolina has been ranked #1 in every AP poll. They're the 13th team in women's basketball history to accomplish that feat, and 11 of the previous 12 went on to win the national title. And so that is the backdrop for the Gamecocks ahead of Friday night's national semifinal, a #1 seeded showdown with Louisville. Ever since Aaliyah Boston arrived on campus as part of the nation's #1 recruiting class in 2019, expectations have been sky high for these Gamecocks. South Carolina 91-8 over the last 3 years. They beat every ranked team they played this season and lead the nation in home attendance. But a national championship for this group is the missing piece.
At the end of the day, we're going to be judged by championships, and that's the thing that most people remember. Do we feel pressured to win? Yeah, because we're a pretty good basketball team. We're here. Will us not winning define who we are and what we're able to accomplish? No.
This is the 4th Final Four for the Gamecocks since 2015. Both losses have come by only 1 point.
And South Carolina only has 2 losses this season, and both of those losses, Mark, coming in the final seconds. So really, South Carolina just 2 plays away from being undefeated this year. They have had a phenomenal season. No surprise, they are the heavy favorite heading into tomorrow's game, but Louisville not worried about the outside noise. The Cardinals getting ready to make their 4th Final Four appearance under head coach Jeff Walz. Just like Dawn Staley has at South Carolina, Walz has also transformed Louisville into a powerhouse program. The Cardinals have one of their most talented teams ever this year in Walz's 15th season with the program, but he knows that the national media still isn't giving his group much of a chance to win Friday's game.
I mean, when someone comes out and they just flat out say the winner of the UConn-Stanford game is going to play South Carolina, yeah, that's you know. So at least let's roll the balls out and let's see what happens. And they end up might being true, but I'll give us a fighting shot at it.
Walz is the all-time winningest coach in Louisville history. He has led the Cardinals to the national championship game twice, but they lost both times. And our sister station, WLKY, has covered Louisville throughout the season. I caught up with sports anchor Andrew Chernoff to ask him about some of the challenges he expects for South Carolina when they match up with the Cardinals on Friday. Andrew, Louisville has one of the best players in college basketball right now on its roster in Hailey Van Lith. What makes her such an elite player, and how do you think South Carolina can go about trying to stop her? She had 22 points in the game against Michigan in the Elite Eight, so what makes her so difficult?
She's a competitor. I think that's the biggest thing that Hailey Van Lith brings to the table. 4 straight games and 20 points at least. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a U of L player. In fact, there hasn't been a U of L player that's ever done that in the NCAA tournament. So she's putting up numbers right now. She didn't shoot the ball well at the start of the year, but she was hitting shots in practice. That trust has never gone away from Jeff Walz, but she's a competitor. Even you heard her after the win the other night, hey, we're not done yet. That was the first thing she said. Great, we made it to the Final Four, but this is not the end goal. So she is a competitor. She obviously had that relationship with Kobe Bryant. He was a competitor as well. Same mentality, Mamba mentality, if you will.
That's right. She really wants to win. You really feel that from her. Who are some other players also, aside from Van Lith, that you think South Carolina has to watch for in this Final Four matchup?
First player that comes to mind is Emily Engstler. I think that she is maybe the most important player on this team. She is, of course, that transfer from Syracuse, is essentially averaging a double-double, just under the rebound total of 10 a game. But she's been incredible. The thing that also goes under the radar with her, you watch her defense, I don't know what it is, but whenever teams are passing the ball, she knows exactly where the ball's going to go. She'll bat balls out of bounds. She'll steal balls. I think she had 7 steals in a game recently. She's unbelievable on that side of the ball, but she is a competitor also. I mean, that's the thing. Like, she came to Louisville to win. That's what she's bringing to the table.
And you mentioned defense, and that's really been South Carolina's calling card all season. They're holding opponents to about 50 points a game this year. It's pretty incredible what they've done on that side of the ball. What do you think it is about Louisville's offense and the type of offense that they run that could enable them to have success against a defense that is so tough that so many other teams have had problems against?
The big thing that I think Louisville has to do, and hopefully from a Louisville perspective, the Cards got it out of their system. Some of the players did not shoot the ball well last game. They've got to shoot the ball well, and they cannot get into foul trouble. Olivia Cochran has gotten into foul trouble last game. You can't do that against the bigs of South Carolina, because then you've got some issues.
Louisville, perhaps the most under the radar out of all 4 of these teams. What do you think people at home should know about this team that gives you confidence that, hey, tomorrow's game could be a big game?
You look at, we saw it firsthand against Michigan, and I think they still have bruises on their knees and legs and stuff. They battle. This is a team that battles, and they've battled all year. They battle every single time they step on the court. I mean, it's just the consistent program that Jeff Walz has built. He's led the team to 4 Final Fours. The only thing he hasn't accomplished at U of L is win the national title. This team is deep enough to do so. They have to play a perfect game, though, against South Carolina.
To play for the national championship.
Yeah, Mark, and I think Andrew's comment right there at the end pretty much sums it up for every opponent that has faced South Carolina this season. Every team really has to play a perfect game if they want to knock off the Gamecocks. They've been so good this year.
Yeah, and it is no secret that if you were a fan of South Carolina, last year's remarkable season ended in bitter defeat. South Carolina played Stanford right down to the wire in the Final Four last April. Really an exceptional game, but it was Aaliyah Boston's potential game-winning putback at the buzzer that didn't drop, clanked off the back iron. It's a shot she's probably made tens of thousands of times in her life, and that ended South Carolina's season. It was a heartbreaking scene in Indianapolis, but one Boston says she no longer dwells on.
I think part of growing up and maturing is being able to move on, and so that happened last season, but that's not something that I can continue to think about, or else there won't be any progress. So I've let go of that since last season, and we've moved on.
We still have unfinished business, you know, to take in the moment right now and be happy for, you know, how far we've came, but we're not done.
The Gamecocks seeking their 2nd championship this weekend. Asia Wilson led them to their 1st in 2017. And we are just getting started. Still to come, Aaliyah Boston lets her game do the talking, but her colorful hair plays a part as well. We're taking a closer look at the National Player of the Year and her colorful personality and even more colorful braids. Plus, everyone in the Palmetto State pulling hard for the Gamecocks back home.
I say hallelujah. I think that they are great. I think Dawn Staley and her teams over the years have helped put South Carolina on the map. This is another example of the greatness of our people and our competitive spirit in South Carolina. I wish them well. I'm pulling for them. I'm looking for that national championship because I know they can do it.
We just saw history. Aaliyah Boston now has her 20th straight double-double. That is a new SEC record. Sylvia Fowles had the previous record with 19 straight double-doubles, and there's 20.
South Carolina junior Aaliyah Boston made history this season when she registered her 20th straight game with a double-double. That streak stretched all the way to 27, ending in USC's most recent game against Creighton. And with success comes recognition, and over the last few days there has been a lot of recognition to go around for South Carolina when it comes to national trophies.
It is my pleasure to announce the 2022 Jersey Mike's Naismith Trophy for the most outstanding college basketball player to Aaliyah Boston from the University of South Carolina.
It was a clean sweep Wednesday at the Naismith Awards. Leah Boston named Naismith Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, while Dawn Staley is the recipient of Coach of the Year. It's the first time since expanding to 3 awards in 2018 that the Naismith trophies have been swept by one school, and it was cause for celebration, but Boston still got her eyes on the prize.
This award is a blessing, but we still have 2 games that we're focused on, and this award cannot bring me a national championship trophy, and so I'm still focused on the real thing.
I wanted it for her. I wanted her to get all the recognition and all the awards for the hard work that she put in, the dedication to our game.
Staley, who was also the Naismith National Player of the Year twice while a point guard at Virginia, is the only honoree to win as both a player and a coach.
And a lot of hardware the last few days for Dawn and Aaliyah. In addition to her Naismith Award, Staley named USBWA Coach of the Year and WBCA Pat Summitt National Coach of the Year. Boston winning the 3 major National Player of the Year honors, the Naismith, the AP, and the Wade Trophy from the WBCA. And South Carolina's superstar stands out for more reasons than just her game. Aaliyah Boston rocks new braids like double-doubles. They just keep coming. Her colorful personality comes out in her hair: purple, blue, pink, maroon, you name it. Boston's gone with almost every color under the rainbow, including a rainbow. But here's the catch. She doesn't pick the colors. Her stylist does, which led to an ironic choice of orange right before playing the Big Orange Tennessee Lady Vols earlier this season.
My girl Alana, she does my hair, so she picks the colors for me, and so I have no idea what it's gonna be going into her salon. And then I walked in and I was like, there's no way. And orange was right there, and I was like, all right, here we go. So, but she rocked it. I mean, really?
When I saw her in the locker room, I'm like, really, Aaliyah? Like, there was no subliminal message to Tennessee with it. It was just she allowed somebody else to make this decision. And I know she's learned her lesson.
Interestingly enough, her highest scoring average this year came while she had those orange braids. And advanced analytics here, these numbers all courtesy ESPN. Purple has been a good hair choice for her. 17 points, 14 rebounds per game. So has the pink and purple mix, 16 and 16, which, if you're wondering, is what she's working with right now. She is so much fun to watch, Julia. What a tremendous player.
She's got a ton of personality, and she's also a big-time leader for this team. That's really what stands out to me about Aaliyah Boston. When I was watching the Gamecocks practice in Greensboro ahead of their Sweet 16 game, she was the most vocal player on the court, constantly encouraging her teammates, telling them to communicate with one another. She is the player that really brings this group together.
Yeah, and in addition to those leadership qualities, Julia, she has worked so hard to transform her body. She's dropped a ton of weight. She's turned herself into the, no doubt, future #1 overall pick, and she's so smart on the court. Her basketball IQ, when she gets double teamed, she knows where to go with the ball. She's just such an exceptional basketball player. What a thrill it is for South Carolina fans to root for her, and what a thrill it is to watch.
And I mean, yeah, like you said, she's getting triple teamed, but she's still making buckets. Unbelievable. And you know what, Mark? She's not the only leader on this team. Lily Grissett has also been a fantastic leader for this South Carolina team. She's been a solid contributor off the bench, and she's also the personality of this team. She's developed handshakes with each and every player that they use during player introductions, and that chemistry really fueled Grissett to come back for her 5th year. Last year, her season ended abruptly when she hurt her right leg in the 4th quarter of the SEC championship game, and she was sidelined for the entire NCAA tournament. The season-ending injury was devastating, but Grissett vowed to come back stronger, knowing she could help this team reach its goal of winning a national title.
Last year, we had a team to win it all. This year, we have the team to win it all again, and I would love to be a part of that. So, like, that gave me more fire, like, my teammates. I just know, like, this the team. This is us. This is us.
Grissett, a woman of many talents. She also took karate for several years growing up, and she plays the harp, so she does it all. Well, still to come, South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley has turned the Gamecocks into a powerhouse program since she's taken over. We'll talk about that.
Plus, breaking down the Final Four film, my conversation with a women's basketball scout on what Louisville and South Carolina do well ahead of Friday night's #1 seeded showdown. That's all still to come. Road to the title. Hey, welcome back to the Road to the Title special. You're watching live here in Minneapolis from the Target Center.
Mark, when Dawn Staley was named the head coach at South Carolina in 2008, the Gamecocks won just 10 games in her first season. But since then, Staley has transformed South Carolina into one of the best programs in women's college basketball. Gamecocks had losing seasons in each of Staley's first 2 years, but her teams have had winning records every year since, and they've won at least 25 games in all but one season since 2011. Now, even as she prepares to make her 4th Final Four appearance, Staley's still appreciative of all that it took to get to this point.
I've been a confetti collector for every championship that that we've had, and it is just a constant reminder of going to get it, going to get it. Creating these great experiences for our players and our coaches and everybody in our program, because we work really hard, and it's really hard to get to a Final Four. Really hard.
The accolades rolling in for Staley as well during her coaching career. She is a 2-time Naismith Coach of the Year and a 5-time SEC Coach of the Year.
And Julia, not only are these 4 of the best programs in all of college hoops, they're led by 4 of the best, longest tenured coaches in all of college basketball. So to get a better idea of what Louisville and South Carolina do well, I went to an opponent and spoke with Clemson women basketball Director of Scouting, McGee Mann, for a Final Four film breakdown.
All right, so McGee, we have a really fascinating coaching matchup in this Final Four game between Dawn Staley and Louisville's Jeff Walz. Each of them has been to 4 Final Fours, and they both do things so effectively. They know what they want to get to, and we're going to start by breaking down Louisville, and they create a ton of havoc through their press, correct?
Yep, correct. So first little clip that I'll kind of go through with you guys here is coming down off their secondary action. They do this a lot after made baskets, is where they'll come in and they'll set a double screen over here. And while that's happening, Chelsea Hall has another action on this other side. So once they get into that, she sees that little lane there while everybody's still looking at them coming off the screen, scores. But then you'll notice Inksor right here getting right into the top of their 1-2-2 press. So they do this a lot after makes. Haley Van Lith, Inksor getting up there, causing some havoc. Chelsea Hall gets in the passing lane, gets a steal, creates a bucket for Inksor. And so that's a lot how they get on their little runs. So then getting into their half-court action, they ran this pretty much all year. It's called chin, kind of like a fake misdirection play. And then they're continuously moving, and Cochran becomes the centerpiece here. Just moving the ball, they're getting it from one side to the other. It's back around, and they're just going right into getting Cochran the ball. 10 seconds left. She's really aggressive. I expect her to try and get some buckets on Aaliyah Boston, trying to get them in foul trouble. That's going to be key for them going into it.
What has made the Gamecocks so hard to score on this year? So obviously, we know their size, their skill, but what do the Gamecocks do so well defensively?
From South Carolina, got some stuff from their clips against UNC. So first off, this shot right here, that's what South Carolina wants. They're trying to limit. North Carolina was another really good three-point shooting team, limiting their three-point attempts to that long two that, you're trying to shoot over Boston or Saxon Beal over there. So that goes up. Most likely going to be a miss, and then this is where South Carolina's at their best. They're running, and then you can see Saxon here making a little lane. All Destiny Henderson has to do is see that. She goes all the way to the hoop, and then offensive rebounding, another big thing that just sets up Saxon right there to go right into an offensive board, get it, and go back up. And that's their go-to coming off a miss. Then in terms of their offense, so a big thing they like to do, I know South Carolina has been getting some slack for their offense, but their bigs, especially Boston, Saxon, Beal over here, they kind of move in a triangle-esque system where they're moving off each other. So you'll kind of see this as this goes through. They're moving the ball on the perimeter. Zia, Cook, Henderson are always looking to attack, but this triangle is staying intact between all three of these post players. Then when Utsby right here is playing off, really sagging on Boston, Beal just has to look, see Saxon, and then that leads to a shot because Utsby's playing off. So it's going to be key for South Carolina in this game to make those mid-range shots. Final 10 seconds here. Again, see kind of a triangle between Beal, Boston, Saxon. The person who's at the top likes to dive to the rim. In this case, Saxon does a really good job using her body, kind of setting a rub screen and letting Boston get right to the rim, get buckets in the paint, and do what she does.
Director of Scouting for Clemson Women's Basketball, McGee, man, thanks for taking a few minutes.
Really appreciate McGee's time and his perspective. And the coaching talent in this Final Four, absolutely ridiculous. 44 combined Final Fours and 15 national championships between Gino Auriemma, Tara Vanderveer, Dawn Staley, and Jeff Walz. UConn in their 14th straight Final Four. They last won it all in 2016.
And Mark, South Carolina's defense has really been its calling card all season. The offense has had some ups and downs, but that defense is a big reason why the Gamecocks are in the Final Four. South Carolina limiting opponents to just about 50 points a game. They also lead the country in several defensive statistical categories, including block shots and field goal percentage defense, and they lead the country in rebounds as well. Head coach Dawn Staley saying her players are so tough on that side of the ball because they know their playing time depends on it.
Defense is a decision. You either going to do it or not. It's not really a skill set. We've been very fortunate that for years, I mean, we've been defending as long as I've been a coach. They know they're going to have to play defense, or else, you know, the likelihood of them playing a whole lot is slim to none.
Bree Beal, one of the Gamecocks' best defenders this season. She has allowed her primary defensive assignment to reach her scoring average just 8 times this season. Well, when we return, we will take one more look at South Carolina's big Final Four showdown against Louisville.
Yeah, we're taking a quick timeout and closing up shop when we get back, but stay with us. Our keys to the game straight ahead. You're watching Road to the Title. Hey, welcome back to Road to the Title. What a night of basketball we have in store. After South Carolina and Louisville, it's UConn and Stanford Friday night, two of the most successful programs in college basketball history. 36 combined Final Fours between the defending national champion Stanford and UConn. The Huskies, led by sophomore Paige Beckers, she's back in her home state of Minnesota, and scored 15 points in overtime of Monday night's thrilling Elite Eight win over NC State. Both of these games, Julia, should be so awesome, but I want to break down the South Carolina-Louisville game just a little bit more, and let's take a closer look at our keys to the game. We know what South Carolina is offensively, and where their bread is buttered, it's the offensive rebounds, the second chance points. Aaliyah Boston, Victoria Saxton, so good at crashing the boards and capitalizing on those second chance points. South Carolina is certainly going to need to do that on Friday night. And we heard McGee talk about this Louisville team, how good they are shooting the ball beyond the arc. Their top 3 scorers all efficient from 3, so South Carolina getting to the 3-point arc, defending is going to be a key as well. And then lastly, you saw on that film breakdown there, Louisville really likes to trap off the buckets. You gotta, for South Carolina, limit turnovers and win the fast break game. I think they'll be in good position to do that and win.
And for me, I was so impressed with the way South Carolina shot the ball against Creighton in its last game. I think that's a major key. They really broke out offensively in that game after they had shot just less than 36% in their other tournament games. So if South Carolina couples its tough defense with a great shooting night like that, I think they're hard to beat. And another key, I think, will be size. 3 of South Carolina's 5 starters are over 6 feet tall. Haley Van Lith. Louisville star has to find a way to score against those bigs. And then my final key, Aaliyah Boston, her clutch performance in the Gamecocks win over North Carolina shows that when they need her the most, Boston is ready to step up for this team. I expect her to play a big role tomorrow.
Cannot wait for the women's Final Four. Thank you so much for joining us on our Road to the Title special. For Julia Morris, I'm Mark Whiteman. We'll have you covered on Friday night, but until that time, hope you have a great night. For Julia Morris, Mark Whiteman, WYFF News 4 Sports.